I am quite a late convert to faith. As a child and a young person, I didn't know Jesus. So the vocation I had at that time was to be a teacher, and that grew and developed. And then when I was in my 30s, when my own children were born, we took them to church, and that seemed the right thing to do. And that's where my own journey of faith began, with the family in church, attending the family service to begin with, and then more regularly, ultimately being asked to join PCCs and doing the usual route of treasurer and then warden, and somewhere along that route I was asked to consider taking part in worship and to lead some aspects of worship in the parish church where I worshipped at that time. I enjoyed that immensely and treated it as a giant school assembly, to be perfectly honest. But I wanted to do a better job at that. So I became an independent student with LCTP, just to develop my own knowledge of why and where this thing that I was doing was coming from. And a sense of calling grew at that time. I became a commissioned lay minister, as it was then, and felt that I'd reached the position that was right for me. Head teacher at school by then, and a commissioned lay minister at church, being able to fulfil those two roles quite happily, and I thought that would be it. But of course it wasn't. There was something else. The calling grew and grew, and I was asked to consider ordination by other people, in all honesty, and I did the usual thing of saying, no, not me, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Because to me at that time, being ordained meant being a full-time stipendiary minister, and my calling at school was still very strong and remained so. So I felt I needed to do something about that. I'm in a hugely privileged position to be both ordained and to be a head teacher, and that has definitely come together for me, and they complement each other very well. I'm lucky enough to be serving my curacy at Holy Trinity Church, which is just across the road from the school where I'm a head teacher. So the two roles are very complementary, and it has worked really well. I was a little concerned to begin with as to whether I needed to differentiate between the two, but as a teacher, let alone a head teacher, a lot of my work is pastoral, supporting the children and even their families indeed, and so in my ministry that has just continued and grown, in all honesty, and one is able to inform and feed the other. That was the really challenging part for me. I've not been a person who has heard the voice very clearly. I don't get sudden visions or dreams. Other people have been important in my journey, and their nudges and comments and questions. So following that's been an important part of it for me. Being asked to consider different things. Right at the beginning, my parish vicar asked me to think about leading worship or to be involved in a family service. And that was the real start of other people nudging me along. In terms of ordination specifically, just on one occasion in a church service on Maundy Thursday, something was revealed to me that was a little more like somebody's talking to me and saying, Ian, you need to do something. It was just after I'd settled into the commissioned lay minister role, thinking, I'm here now, I've got to where I should be. And clearly, no, I hadn't, and there was something else for me to do. And that extra nudge was given me at that service. I remember that very clearly. They are my life, and I'm really very aware that as an ordained person, it's not It's not something that I do, it's something that I am. And so that's why I wear my collar to school every day. The children, rightly or wrongly, know me as Rev'd Johnston, and the two vocations shape and form the person I am. And that has simply been a continuous and growing journey for me. I try to lead the life I lead because of my faith. I fail miserably constantly. Ask the staff at school if I'm a caring, generous boss, and they will say no chance. I can be miserable at times, I can twine with the best of them, but the big picture I try to paint is one that's built around the faith I have. It's really challenging. I find it hugely challenging. I find it challenging that I'm in this position. I used to say to people in terms of my head teacher role that I couldn't quite believe that people felt I was able to fulfil the responsibilities of leading a school with 300 children and £1.5 million budget and 60 staff, and ultimately realising that the book stopped with me. And now, of course, whether I want to be or not, I'm looked at differently because I'm an ordained person. And I felt I wanted that to be something that was part of me. So I want people to know who and what I am in school and both at church, so that they know that at the very least I'm acting as a very big witness to Christ. And they can think every time they see me in the playground in my collar, oh, that's that God fella, and he's doing that job somewhere, and I wonder if that changes how he is, because I like to think it does. I like to think that not changes me, but makes me who I am and the way I act. And the moulding is ongoing and continuous.